The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, that's the EFCC, has come under heavy scrutiny following the theft of exhibits by some of its personnel. The agency spokesman, Dele Oyewale, in a statement indicated that the EFCC was investigating a trending $400,000 claim of a yet-to-be-identified supposed staff of the EFCC against a sectional head. It was also alleged that 10 officers from the Lagos Zonal Command were detained over theft of operational items. The detained officers are said to be answering questions regarding their inability to account for certain operational items that went missing under their watch. Joining us in the studio is a lawyer and public affairs analyst, Sam Adeyemo, to discuss this matter. Good morning. It's good to have you join us.
Good morning to you and good morning, Nigerians.
Right. Now, for officers of the Commission who are meant to be above board when it comes to behavior and professionalism, they are now found to have been caught in the web of what is termed as being below board with regards to their conduct. And that is not seemingly sitting well with a number of Nigerians because they are expected to maintain certain standards, but that's not the issue now. What do you think is at the heart of what we are seeing happening with the EFCC?
Well, it's very unfortunate. I call it an amazing disgrace. If EFCC officials, like you rightly said, are meant to be above board, are the ones in the heart of the scandal. You know, you begin to ask yourself, do we still need to import people from America to come and be staff of EFCC? The problem we have, it's not just EFCC, it's everywhere. It goes beyond the EFCC or the police or anywhere, you know, it's a societal issue.
Really?
It's a societal issue because...
How so?
Because now, we import almost everything we consume in this country. Do we also import the men and officers of police force? Do we import the EFCC officers? Are they not from our society? So in other words, if we get it right from the basics of our society, we'll have good EFCC officers, we'll have good police officers, we'll have good civil servants, we'll stop having bribery and corruption in every sector.
When you say get it right with the basics of the society,
exactly.
Where exactly are you headed? I want this conversation to be as clear as possible for those who are watching. Are you saying from the home front or where exactly?
That's where it starts from.
Right.
That's where it starts from. A child comes back from school. These and these and these do not belong to the child or does not belong to the child. You should ask questions. Those days, we remember when discipline... See, I have been flogged on the assembly before.
Your parents?
No. The teacher, my daddy followed me to the school, flogged this boy for indiscipline.
Wow.
Today, I am a product of it. You are a product of discipline. You are a product of discipline. If you are not a product of discipline, you will not be where you are today. So, to me...
So are you saying that those people that are actually, being rocking this scandal by the EFCC, talking about the EFCC officials who are running away, who had actually made away with some of these recovered assets, they were not product of discipline?
Well, their attitudes have shown that they are not product of discipline. Because if they are, why should they, why should they be relooting already looted and recovered properties? If they are product of discipline. So we need to get it right from the home. Like
but there are those who will disagree with you. Some would say that perhaps circumstances surrounding their lives at this point perhaps might have pushed them. For instance, hear me out, please. The matter of their welfare also came on board or to the fore when one of them passed recently in Anambra, and there were talks about they not having life insurance and a policy in place. And recently we saw that about 200 of them officers were promoted, and it was said that some of them had been waiting over 6 to 7 years before they got this promotion. And now life insurance and property insurance have been reinstated after several years, 20 years. Now, the welfare of these officers, do you think is also a factor here when we are talking about the conduct of persons who are meant to be above board?
welfare of officers is also very important. We cannot downplay their welfare issue. But come to think of it, they are not the only persons affected. Why didn't others behave in that manner?
I thought you also mentioned the Nigerian police and some other security
What I'm
agencies
saying, yes, the fact that I mentioned police, and other security agencies, that some of them, not all, let me be careful here.
Yeah, the bad eggs among
the
them.
bad eggs among them. Despite the fact that things are, their welfare is an issue and all of that, we still have people who are still morally upright.
Absolutely.
We still have, so if some people choose to be morally upright, irrespective of the circumstances, look, they are not the only person.
The others don't have any excuse.
Why? What excuse do they have? They are all being paid the same salary. Yet, can we do better? Yes, we can do better. And the president is doing very well towards ensuring that welfares of officers are taken care of. So I think we must operate within our ambits. Our reality in this country, as things are, yes, things are challenging, but as things are challenging, that does not excuse you. Poverty is not a defense to crime. It's never a defense to crime. That I am poor, that's why I took to crime. It's not.
But that's what we hear these
days. We only hear it, but it's not a defense.
But what does this say about people who get into these anti-graft agencies, the Nigerian police and other security parastatals who are meant to uphold the tenets of discipline, patriotism, talk about all the positive values in the country? How did they get into these positions or becoming personnel of these security agencies? Does this actually go to show how much we're not being taxed about the people who get into these positions to be able to deliver on the mandate?
You see, it's a known fact that to get certain jobs, you need to know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody. So it's no longer on the platform of merit. During the days of Dora Akunyili, may God rest her soul, people who were given employment, I know somebody that they came to look for him in his house, that yes, your employment letter is waiting for you.
He didn't apply.
No. I'm talking on merit.
Okay.
On merit. That's it. We have been waiting for you. This person applied. Those days it was not. You don't need to know any senator. You don't need to know any member of the House of Rep to influence. But look at people in CBN, people in police. You need to know one king, one emir, one oba. That is why we are where we are today.
Really?
Again, that takes us back to the social fabric, the society. We need to rejig our society in terms of morality. Otherwise, we've not seen anything yet.
Where are we actually missing it when you talk about morality? Because I know in primary school, secondary school, there is this civic education, there is social studies, there is economic studies, etc. And some of these things are meant to impart requisite knowledge into Nigerians.
During our days, I know there is what they call moral instruction.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you did it.
I can remember.
Moral instruction, they will tell you, don't do this, don't do. And there were some songs we sing, like for example, wherever you go, wherever you be, do not say yes when you need to say no. These are things we grew up with. You see, even the quality of songs we were listening to, all those kind of things. Where are they today? What are the kind of songs our younger generation are listening to these days? You see a lot of them.
You just said it. Some of these songs are not in tune with the reality of
that today. Is the problem.
Because when you studied hard in school, you came out first class, and that the person who is getting the job, who is getting the favor, is the one who has a long leg or long hand.
That is the unfortunate part of the society. That is what we need to address in our society.
All right. So if we are talking about addressing it, because I'm going to ask you two questions in one now, where do we begin? That's on the one hand. On the other hand is the concern of the implication of all of these issues, allegations of corruption and all of that on the image of the EFCC, knowing the role they play at addressing the matters of corruption in our society.
Well, talking about the image of the EFCC, I still believe that the EFCC is still an agency of integrity, notwithstanding all these challenges. You see, I will not come here to destroy institutions. If you take away the EFCC from this country, you know what it will mean, you know. So at least to get to jail former governors, to prosecute them is not an easy job. They are doing very well. Yes, we have few bad eggs among them. So those few bad eggs are the ones that should be addressed. So left for me, if you ask me how it affects the image of the, I think the EFCC remains credible. I have had opportunity to, you know, to interface with their staff, you know, on so many occasions, and they behave very professional. The ones that I have seen, they have been very, very professional. So we cannot just, because of these few bad eggs, now
with the baby with the bath
so we cannot use a blanket approach. No, it's not fair to do that on the institution. EFCC remains a credible organization. There are a few bad eggs there that I think we need to deal with.
The second question,
which is
you talked about how we need to rejig our society and bring back the matters of morality, and I asked, where do we begin?
Yes, I remember Professor Wole Soyinka some time ago saying that his own generation was a wasted generation. If he could say a thing like that about his own time, I wonder what our own time is now. But like I said, we need a society where merit is rewarded. We need a society where you do not, you do not sacrifice merit on the altar of mediocrity.
Right.
So until we begin to get it right from that aspect, whereby those days, if you come to the community with something, they will ask you, where did you get it from? You know, but these days, people celebrate wealth, irrespective. Nobody cares how you make it. Just go and make it. So we need to give that orientation. The National Orientation Agency needs to do a lot of work in this area. I'm challenging the National Orientation Agency to come alive. Maybe they have been coming up, but they need to do more at this stage. Because if we don't get it right, you see, the younger generations, I pity them a lot. In terms of moral upbringing, many of them are morally damaged. I know what I see. I interface with them.
Is it a matter for the government to handle, or do you not think that, you know, the breakdown of morality is actually from so many homes? You know?
Of course. You see, when you talk about government, even people in government are from homes too. So we need to go back to our homes. In a situation whereby you have people who are not even qualified to be parents are parenting. Those that are supposed to be parented are parenting. So how do you then give what you don't have?
So where do they go back to? Because perhaps some of them...
How should we stop those who are not parenting, those who are not qualified to be
parents?
So what do we do?
So it's a complex case.
It's a very complex situation, you know. But as a matter of fact, I believe that from the schools, we need to get it right from our schools, you know, public schools, private schools. Reintroduce moral education. I don't know what they call it now, but those days it really helped.
But you see where parents are saying, don't touch my child, when a child perhaps misbehaved in schools. Recently, that was last week, there was a story of a student beating the teacher to coma.
You see, it's unfortunate that even that aspect is also getting the support of the government. You know, where government have issued policies in schools that don't beat children and all of that. Well, I'm not saying don't cane a child, but don't cane to the extent that it will cause, you know, there's what called assault occasioning harm in law. Don't assault to the extent that it will occasion harm. So to me, like I told you, I have been caned on the assembly before. Those days, 12 strokes of cane in the public. So
I think I have also, but I can't remember how many strokes.
I remember mine was not on the assembly. I wasn't that bad.
So, and today, I'm saying it on live television, on the national TV, on a very credible TV station here.
That's right.
I'm the better for it. But before, if I make, for instance, 100,000, before I remember those who imputed discipline in me, I would have sorted out my own personal challenges first. So these are issues.
That's right.
These are issues that we need to look into. You see, it's very unfortunate.
Absolutely.
It's very unfortunate.
But then, if you look at the EFCC, they actually operate within a legal and institutional framework that probably may be outdated. So what reforms do you think, or would you advise, or would you advocate that Nigeria puts in place to, you know, for the anti-corruption law to ensure that EFCC is more transparent and very accountable?
You see, EFCC does not operate on outdated laws. No. But if you say there are certain things they need to do better, yes. For instance, may the soul of the officer who died in Anambra, may rest in peace. Many people have argued that should EFCC operate in such a manner? The answer is yes.
You mean by arresting people at night?
There is no time you can arrest.
Getting into their homes at night.
There is no time you can arrest.
Without a proper vest and shield and everything that can protect you?
Now, in that situation, from EFCC's press statement we issued, that was issued by the EFCC, they told us that the guy who shot was watching from a CCTV camera. So EFCC, according to EFCC statement, I'm not saying that they said we are EFCC, surrender, and blah blah. All those things were done. And if after that, you still went ahead to shoot, then something. No, you are not generally licensed to bear arms in this country. The only reason you can bear arms, there are conditions for bearing arms. Yes. You must be 18 years above. You must be sane, and and it is for hunting, not to self-protect. Although in the area of self-defense, there are instances where you can protect yourself if you feel you are in danger, and all of that. The law also allows for self-defense. But in this situation, it's a very peculiar one, because we must not forget the fact that the incident took place in Anambra, a very delicate state when it comes to kidnapping, unknown gunmen, and all of that. But like EFCC told us, if it is true that the guy saw them and he did what he did, self-defense may be out of the way for him.
And the enemy has come out to deny that he's not part of the association. That's the medical association. He said he was a doctor.
No, I think they allege he was a doctor. No, he didn't say he was a doctor.
Yeah, they allege
he's a doctor. Yeah, and he didn't say he's a doctor.
Yes.
So in that situation, the defense of self-defense may not be available to him in that regard. Now, having said that, was EFCC right to break, for instance, breaking and to effect? Yes, they can do that. If you check Section 12 of the Administration of Criminal Justice as Subsection 2, if they have a warrant of arrest to come and arrest, they have the right to break into that apartment. In fact, if these are two different apartments and Madam is there, they can, and if they need to break into your apartment to get into his own apartment to arrest him, they can break into your apartment to get into his own apartment.
But when they come back and fix it, yeah?
Who fixes the damage?
The law didn't
talk about who will fix what.
The only tells us, what the law tells us is that they can break into it to effect the arrest. But the law didn't tell us who will repair the damage.
So what if I decide to defend myself against that kind of breakage? Because it's my property.
It's your property, agreed. But it depends, like I told you, if they are operating on a warrant.
And so that's why I asked about the legal framework, because now you said the law takes care of one angle,
yes.
It doesn't take care of another aspect. So what if I feel that they are coming to destroy my house? Maybe I'm the landlord of the house, and I know that they will have to destroy certain things, just the way we saw in the Gestapo arrest of Rochas Okorocha, back in the day, all of the drama and all of that. Yeah. So what if I decide to act like I'm defending myself?
Because I cannot see, I cannot see the warrant of arrest. You just jumped into my house.
No, like I said, they must be operating on a warrant before they can even do something else. Don't forget that in this situation, all doors must have been locked against them. And they must have been making an announcement, we are so. We are operatives from EFCC and all of that. So once you hear that, you are duty bound to open your doors.
Open your door.
If you do not open your door,
that is when they break in.
That's when they break into it.
Oh, I get you.
Really? So interesting.
You have the right to break into it.
Right. Now to talk about the officer that died in Anambra, it's sad and unfortunate.
It's very sad. Very sad.
May his soul continue to rest
Amen.
in peace and grant his family the fortitude to be at the loss.
Amen.
But now he has been immortalized by the EFCC.
Agency.
They named a complex after him. Is that enough in terms of immortalizing such? I want to call him a hero, so to speak.
Yes, he is a hero against corruption.
Right.
He fought corruption with his life. And he paid the ultimate price in order to ensure that we have a free and a corruption-free society. Is that enough? I think not. It is not enough. It is good, but they can do better. Now, they need to review their strategy. Yes, the law provides for so and so, but when you are going to certain areas that are so volatile, you know, such an arrest could have been done in Lagos and you won't hear that any officer was killed.
Yes.
But you have to understand that every geopolitical zone have their own security peculiarities.
Absolutely.
So understanding the security peculiarities of each geopolitical zone will make us appreciate how to approach or the kind of tactics to use in approaching such situations. So I would rather think that they need to cooperate with other security agencies like DSS, the police, even the military, to see how they can
Depending
further
strengthen their
further
processes.
strengthen, exactly, because if on that day, if they had gone with maybe military officers or DSS officers, it could have been a different situation altogether. Don't forget, EFCC is also a paramilitary, not totally military.
That's right.
Yes,
It's a
yes.
paramilitary, although they bear arms, but they have just a section of them that bear, not all of them, because when you talk about economic crime is not a violent crime. It's not a crime
It's
like
not
armed
supposed
robbery.
to be.
No, it is not.
Yeah.
It's not, it is even not. Because these are crime you commit with your I call it
Intellect.
intellectual crime.
Yeah.
These are crime you commit with your intellect. So you don't need to carry weapon to commit it.
But now
Okay, sorry, I read about a story of a woman that was defrauded by a supposed Brad Pitt.
That's right.
And meanwhile, the founder is a Nigerian.
He's an
You
Nigerian,
didn't
yeah.
use gun to defraud her now. So that's what we call economic crime. And I trust the EFCC to get to the root of that matter.
Yes.
I trust them to get to the root of that. So that is just it.
Talking about you trusting the EFCC, you know, they've also been repeated for not always winning high-profile cases, although they win cases against the Yahoo guys, etc. But then, could tampering with evidences, just such as the one we're discussing now, must have been the reason why they lose or they've lost so many high-profile cases, or because they do not have strong and competent lawyer to face this issue, to advocate, to serve as counsel for them in this court of law, because some of these people they are fighting against are politicians who are probably stolen blind to hire senior advocates of Nigeria to face, the EFCC.
You see, EFCC have competent lawyers. Rotimi Oyedepo, a senior advocate of Nigeria, we've met in court before. He's a very competent. They are very competent lawyers. No, I will not downplay my colleagues there. Not because
No,
my colleagues.
the question is not meant to downplay.
No,
them.
I
Talking
understand.
about the level, the caliber.
When it comes to high-profile cases, you see, a lot of things happen behind the scene, which maybe cannot be discussed on here. That's why they are high-profile cases. I wouldn't want to say compromise.
On the side of who?
Yeah, but don't forget that, you see, if we want to get these kind of things right, we need to stop using corruption to fight corruption.
Could you expatiate more?
Good. When I say you're using corruption to fight corruption, a politician was once said, once you cross to this side, your sins are forgiven.
You mean defecting to other?
Yes. Once you cross to our side, your sins are forgiven. Now, don't forget that there has been a debate in the legal community as to distinguishing the office of the Attorney General from the Minister of Justice.
Yes.
So, if we have that distinction, until we have that distinction, let the Attorney General be for the people. Let the Minister of Justice be for the government. So the Attorney General will now operate independently. But what happens when, maybe because it crossed to this side, and the Attorney General exercises his power under the Constitution? You say, okay, EFCC, transfer this case to my office.
That's the hand.
And he says, I'm not prosecuting. What happens?
That's the end of it. Wow.
So we must separate those offices if we want to fight corruption passionately. But for now, the kind of cases that EFCC will win are those that they really want it to be won. Let me put it that way. Let's leave it at that.
That's a very heavy and pregnant one.
Between the lines.
It does appear that EFCC, as some have described them, to be toothless bulldog, meaning that they decide to bite whoever they want to bite, and they are tools in the hand of government. Is that correct?
Well,
especially against perceived opposition.
Well, I wouldn't want to see it in that light.
You don't want to see it that way, but is that the way it is?
Well, I would not say that is the way it is. The question is, those people that they are going after, do they really have skeleton in their cupboards? These are the issues. So let us look at the issue from the merit before attaching sentiment to it. Have they really stolen money? Whether you are for the party in government or against the party in government, have they stolen? Yaya Bello is in APC. They are prosecuting him. Irrespective of, he's being prosecuted. At the point in time, former governor
say that is because perhaps he has issues within the party, so he's facing.
Former governor Fayemi not being investigated. Former governor of Ekiti State is he not being investigated by EFCC? Is he not in the good book of the presidency? Is he? So that is it. That is the
investigation is not tantamount to.
But don't forget don't forget that before you can prosecute successfully, you must have investigated successfully. So at times, some investigation could take time.
Right. So, anyway, we can only hope that Nigerians still repose that level of trust in the EFCC with regards to the things happening around them, and that they come out to be transparent at the end of the day with dealing with these issues. Because at some point, some Nigerians were saying, mention the names of these persons who are involved in issues, but they didn't come out really with the names, and we see how they handle some of the cases, talking about Yahoo Boys and co. Yes, they might have internal mechanisms to addressing these issues, but Nigerians just want some level of transparency in their approach to dealing with these issues. I believe that's not too much to ask as we wrap up this conversation.
Well, that's not too much to ask. When it comes to transparency, do unto Yahoo Boys as you do unto the politicians, or do unto the politicians as you do unto the Yahoo Boys, and all of that. Yes, that's not too big a demand from the EFCC. And like I said, until we separate the office of the attorney, don't forget that every criminal prosecution stops on the table of the Attorney General. Whether it is EFCC, whether it is Nigerian police, whether it is custom,
whatever the case,
everything stops on his table. So until we deal with that office, separation, that is when we can now say yes.
We are fighting corruption.
We are fighting corruption. Anyway, but for now, we are only using corruption to fight corruption.
Wow. Interesting.
Anyway, Sam Adeyemo, lawyer and public affairs analyst, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.